Have you ever wondered how much your stomach can actually hold? The real answer isn't a fixed number, and the reason why is stranger than you'd expect. Every time you eat, there's a negotiation happening between your brain and your stomach that you have never once been consciously aware of, and it has a flaw. A timing flaw that decides, without asking you, how much food it actually takes before you feel full. Most people think fullness is simple. You eat, your stomach fills up, a switch flips, you stop. That's not what's happening. There's a delay built into that switch, and depending on how fast you eat, that delay can let you blow straight past full before your body ever gets the memo. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how long that delay is, why it exists, and the one thing it's quietly been doing to your appetite for years without you noticing. Here's the mechanism. As food enters your stomach, sensory nerves in the stomach wall detect the incoming pressure and volume. They send that signal up a pathway called the vagus nerve straight to your brain. Your brain processes it instantly and sends a signal back down, telling the smooth muscle in your stomach wall to relax and physically expand, creating room for more incoming food. This is happening below your conscious awareness, every single time you eat. Your stomach isn't a passive container that just fills up like a bucket. It's in constant, live communication with your brain, actively negotiating its own capacity in real time. A feedback loop most people go their entire lives never learning exists. Which sounds efficient, almost elegant. Except this system has a serious timing problem, and that problem is the reason so many people eat far more than they meant to before they ever feel it. The vagus nerve signal we just covered handles stretch and room making. But it's not the primary signal responsible for actually shutting appetite down. That job belongs to a hormone called cholecystokinin, released once food clears the stomach and reaches the small intestine. Here's the catch. Food can't get to the small intestine quickly. It has to pass through a tightly controlled exit gate at the bottom of the stomach, called the pyloric sphincter. And that gate is strict. It only allows a few milliliters through at a time, and only once the stomach's churning motion has broken food down small enough to qualify. So there's a structural lag baked into the system. Your stomach can be stretching to accommodate more food long before the hormone that's supposed to tell your brain, stop eating, has even been released. Eat quickly, and you can blow straight past that signal before it ever arrives. Not because of willpower, but because the chemistry simply hasn't caught up yet. This is the actual explanation behind something almost everyone has experienced. Finishing a plate, feeling fine, and then getting hit with a wall of fullness 10 or 15 minutes later that feels like it came out of nowhere. It didn't come out of nowhere. It was always running behind. And if that delay happens once, it resets by the next meal. But repeat it constantly, and something more permanent starts to happen. A single oversized meal, a holiday feast, one big night out, stretches the stomach temporarily. Within a day or two, the smooth muscle contracts back down to its normal resting size. No lasting change, no damage done. But the stomach is one of the most distensible organs in the human body, meaning its walls are specifically built to expand well beyond their resting size. And distensible tissue, like muscle, adapts to repeated demand. Push past the delay-driven fullness signal over and over. Weeks, months, a chronic pattern rather than an occasional splurge, and the stomach's resting capacity can gradually shift upward. Once that happens, the stretch-sensing nerves that trigger the brain's make room signal don't fire until a larger volume is present, because the wall simply isn't tightening at the old threshold anymore. Which means the fullness signal, already running late, now has to wait even longer to arrive. That creates a genuinely self-reinforcing loop. Eating more stretches capacity. Stretched capacity delays the fullness signal further. Delayed fullness enables eating even more next time. It's not a failure of discipline. It's a physically adaptive organ, responding exactly the way distensible tissue is built to respond to sustained pressure. This is also, quietly, one of the most underexplained mechanisms behind long-term weight gain that has nothing to do with metabolism and everything to do with a stretch and delay feedback loop running in the background of every meal. So if the system can shift capacity upward through repetition, can it shift back down? The honest answer, partially and slowly. Because the stomach's baseline capacity is driven by the physical stretch pattern it's been repeatedly exposed to. Consistently eating smaller volumes over an extended period can gradually shift that resting size back down. The same distensibility that let it expand also lets it settle. But this isn't instant, and it isn't just about eating less at a single meal. It's about consistency long enough for the smooth muscle and the stretch-sensing nerves to recalibrate to a smaller baseline, which is a large part of why sudden, aggressive diets often fail. The stomach is still operating on its stretched-out threshold, so the same smaller meal that should feel satisfying instead feels like deprivation, because the fullness signal hasn't caught up to the new intake yet. Eating more slowly helps close the gap in the short term, giving the delayed cholecystokinin signal time to actually arrive before a second helping goes down. But closing the long-term capacity gap takes weeks of consistent, moderate volume, not a single week of restriction. Which brings us to the number this whole video started with. But first, there's one more variable most people never think to control, and it can throw the whole delay off even further. Drinking large amounts of liquid during a meal, soda, juice, even water in big gulps, does something sneaky to this whole system. Liquid passes through the stomach and out through that pyloric gate far faster than solid food, since it needs almost no mechanical breakdown before it qualifies to move on. That means a stomach filled partly with liquid can feel emptier than it actually is, because a portion of what you just consumed is already clearing out while you're still eating. You end up taking in more total volume before the stretch receptors and the delayed fullness hormone ever catch up, stacking a second lag on top of the one we already covered. It's a big part of why liquid calories are so easy to overconsume without noticing, and why the exact same meal can feel far less filling with a large drink alongside it than without one. Which finally brings us to the number this whole video started with. That 1.5 liter resting capacity, that 4 to 6 liter maximum stretch. Those aren't fixed facts about the human stomach as some universal constant. They're closer to a range your specific stomach has been trained into, through years of exactly how much volume, how fast, and how often you've eaten. Every meal is a tiny vote for where that threshold sits tomorrow. Eat past the delayed fullness signal consistently, and you're voting the number up. Eat with enough pacing for the signal to actually land, and you're voting it back down. None of this is about willpower in the moment you feel stuffed. By then, the vote already happened, minutes earlier when the food was going down faster than the hormone could keep up. The actual leverage point is earlier than most people think, and slower than most people want it to be. If this changed how you think about the 10 minutes after a meal, subscribe, because next time, we're breaking down exactly how long it takes different foods to trigger that fullness hormone, and which meals are quietly working against you before you've even taken the first bite. Comment how long it usually takes you to feel full after eating fast. I'd bet it's longer than you think.